Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. You 4,360 absolute global legends. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're out in the woods and we're going to be talking about, depending where you are in the world, getting your pond ready for what I think we're in for a very long and cold winter. Yes guys, we're out in the epic forest. I don't know what it's actually called, guys, but I just thought it'd be nice to make a bit of a change because I've had a few requests about asking for information about this, and it's very difficult to do while you're sort of working on a pond. So I do try and bring you hints and tips during the week, guys. But yeah, I just thought we'd have a little chat, a little tete-a-tete, me and you guys together, about preparing your pond for the winter. So yes guys, what's the date today? It's the 27th, I think, of September. October is just round the corner. Ground temperature is currently 16 degrees, so your pond should be at about 16 degrees. Yes guys, as the sun peeks its weary head through, and there's me talking about winter. It is a bit chilly, guys. I don't know if I've got erect nipples or what, but yeah, so I don't know if you remember about 15-16 years ago, you legends, coming into November, December time, it was about 9 degrees, and then overnight it just suddenly went down to sort of -12, -14 degrees. I was the manager of Shirley Aquatics at the time, and literally the phone was ringing off the hook, people's fish dying left, right and centre, and there wasn't anything I could do about it. So you legends, if you're building a pond, the importance of ground temperature is second to none. So even if you've got a raised pond out the ground, I recommend that the further you go in the ground with it, the better it is for the fish, because ground temperature is stable, and the deeper you go, the more stable it is. So I don't know if you've ever been to, if you're from the UK, you've ever been to Cheddar Gorge or places like that. There's some caves and they're underground, and the temperature stays exactly the same all year round, and you're going to need that, guys, to keep your pond stable. This isn't about heating your pond, you legends. This is about keeping it stable. So if you've got a completely above ground pond, it's not in the ground at all, and the weather gets down to sort of -16, which it has done in the past, you legends, then there's a very good chance that you're going to lose your fish, and especially if it goes suddenly. So koi don't like changes in anything. I have said this loads of times, but I'll say it a flipping again. They don't like changes in temperature. 1 degree to a human is 3 degrees to a fish. The reason why is they're in that body of water. So that, depending on the temperature of that body of water, that is the temperature of the body of that koi. So if you imagine a 10-degree water change, that's a 30-degree water change to koi, and they absolutely hate it, guys. But it's not just temperature. They hate changes in air pressure. They hate changes in pH. They hate changes in nitrite. Everything needs to move gradually, guys. And like I say, I think we are in for a bit of a bad winter, and I'll tell you for why. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. We'll soon see, won't we? But with everything that's going on in the world today, with sort of, I don't know what you want to call it, geoengineering and all that sort of stuff, there's a lot of messing about reflecting the sun and all of that business, trying to cool the planet, and You know, you might think this is a conspiracy or whatever, but I can assure you it's not. The UK government has recently spent between 50 and 60 million of taxpayers' money to dim the sun, spraying aerosols into the sky to reflect the sunlight to cool the planet down.
So the government is set to approve experiments to dim sunlight in a bid to combat global warming. Scientists are exploring techniques like injecting aerosols into the atmosphere or brightening clouds to reflect sunlight. 50 million quid of funding has been allocated for these projects.
And there's going back in history, guys, farmers used their natural surroundings to predict the weather. So I don't know if you've noticed, if you've got any fruit trees, but I have. And berries, natural berries, I ate a lot of them. The trees and the bushes have produced a massive excess amount of fruit and berries this year, which is a big sign that we're in for a very cold winter. I'm not saying it is definitely going to happen, but I'm saying it is a very good chance. So I want you, absolute legends, to be as prepared as you flipping can be. So yes, guys, like I say, ground temperature is stable and it will keep your pond stable. So koi aren't naturally cold water fish, but they can tolerate it. So we're going to go into it. We're going to dive right in, guys. We're going to dive right in, and don't you worry. Now you're probably wondering, what the hell am I doing in the middle of a forest? Well, I've heard there's a pretty good flipping dogging spot, guys. So yeah, I've bought some flipping lube with me. You never know your luck, do you, eh? So gang, it's coming to about the time of year in the UK where you need to turn off your waterfalls and your, you know, if you've got a blade or something like that, maybe if you've got a nice warm day you can run it, but if it's when we're getting down to sort of freezing on the night times, with the water running through that blade or down that waterfall, it's going to chill your pond overnight, and then if it's warm in the day it's going to heat it back up again, and koi just don't like it, guys. Air pressure is another big thing I've spoke about in the last couple of videos. So when you've got high air pressure, it'll keep the oxygen in your pond, whereas when there's very low air pressure, and if you have a very heavy downpour of rain onto your pond, there's a very good chance that the oxygen level is going to be depleted in your pond. So you must remember that it's not only in hot times of the year that you need to add more oxygen to your pond. Yeah, going back to the temperature of your pond, if you've got a cold wind blowing over your pond, that's going to chill your pond as well. So it's not just the fact that the heat evaporates, the heat rises from your pond to make your pond colder, but it's also the wind chill. So the wind actually blowing across your pond, across the surface of the pond, is actually going to make it a lot cooler. So we're going to dive deeper into that a little bit later on into this video. So if you've got a 1,000-gallon pond, it's going to change a lot faster than if you've got an 8,000-gallon pond. The weather will affect it. If you've got a larger body of water, obviously it will take longer for that temperature to change. If you've got a small body of water, it's going to change dramatically. I mean, during the summer months, some people's ponds were going from sort of 17, 18 degrees up to 20 odd, 24 degrees and even hotter. Whereas again, if you've got a larger body of water, it takes much longer for it to change. So, but again, that's good. That's a good thing going into winter, but it's not such a good thing in spring if you've got a larger pond, because obviously it's going to take longer for that to warm up at the same time. So let's stay on track with going into winter, guys. Yeah, so with all this stuff going on in the skies and dimming the planet, and I don't know what all that's about, you legends, because at the end of the day, if they're trying to cool the planet and reduce CO2, which is, to be honest with you legends, is what feeds all these, which feed us with oxygen. So I don't know all that's about, but they're spraying like aerosols. Do you remember back in the, was it the 80s or the 90s, they banned aerosols because it was killing off the ozone layer? Well, yeah, now they're spraying all sorts of stuff, aluminium, silver, iodine, silver, all sorts of stuff, guys, in the sky. You might think I'm some sort of conspiracy theorist. I think I've said this earlier on, but I'll play you a little clip.
Geoengineering is a method to counterbalance the effects of global warming. One of the most popular is to inject some reflective material into the stratosphere.
Of the 50 to 60 million pounds of your money that the government is investing into this. Now, if you think about it, if they're cooling the planet, what's going to happen? You're going to have your heating on more. You're going to be burning more gas. You're going to be burning more electric just to keep your houses warm, as well as your koi ponds. So, to me, it just seems a bit backwards, if I'm honest with you. But that's just my opinion, you legends. So, it is a bit chilly, you know, in the shade here. I've got my hairs are standing up on end, guys. So yeah. What's next? What's next on the topic, you legends? Food. So I have mentioned this in previous video. I'm going to have to swap arms. My blooming arm's aching, guys. So, yes, feeding. So if your pond's at 16 degrees now, you should have already started to be introducing some wheat germ into your food. The reason is that wheat germ is a lot easier for the fish to digest. You grow from colour pellets or take a lot longer for the fish to digest in colder waters, and I have said this in a previous video, but if you've got a wheat germ, say for instance a Hikari wheat germ pellet and a growth pellet which contains a lot more protein, if you put that into a glass of water that's at sort of chilled at sort of 8 degrees, say, the wheat germ pellet will swell up and break down very easily, whereas the growth pellet will take days. Basically, it will just stay exactly the same. If you don't believe me, you can try it, because I have actually done this experiment, especially with highly compressed foods like sake, kari, which are very dense. And what happens is, you know, fish, they're like flipping kids in a sweet shop, and you put food in, they're going to gobble it all up, guys. Oh yeah. Stop it. They're going to gobble it all up, and the problem that you have is, in colder temperatures, it's very difficult for them to digest the food, and what happens is it stays in the stomach. They can't digest it. It starts to turn bad, and this can take several months for this to happen, guys, and you probably wouldn't even notice it until you come into spring. But what happens is that food goes off inside the stomach, starts to swell up, decompose, and then that presses on the swim bladder, and then the fish have got no balance. They struggle to move up and down in the water. They use the swim bladder, guys, to move up and down in the water. So if they want to go down in the water, they'll compress it. They'll use muscles to compress the swim bladder, which makes them go down. And then if they want to go up, they'll release those muscles, which lets the swim bladder expand, and then they'll go up in the water. So if you imagine a stomach full of decomposing, undigested food swelling up and pressing on that swim bladder, it's going to cause issues, guys, and these issues are irreversible. There's a very good chance that you will lose that fish. So yeah, be mindful, guys, in what you feed in your koi. I recommend, and this is only through my experience, there's loads of foods on the market, you legends. I mean, during the summer months, yeah, feed whatever you like. Feed as much growth pellets and colour pellets as you want to get in there, because like I say, it's easy for them to digest, but when the water's colder, it's a lot more difficult. So I would recommend, I'm a big fan of Hikari, growth, colour, staple, and the wheat germ as well. So if you want to do that experiment for yourself, by all means give it a whirl, guys. This channel is here to provide helpful tips to keep your koi in the best condition possible. So I do like Hikari food, so I would recommend Hikari wheat germ, and you should be at 50-50 now with your either staple or growth food. So if you're not, guys, get into that. Another one is Medikoi wheat germ with garlic. Garlic is really good for the immune system, and it's the same with koi. So when you're coming into winter, when the temperature gets down below 10 degrees, I don't mean the air temperature, guys. Everything in this video is about water temperature. So when your pond gets down to 10 degrees, below 10 degrees, your koi have got basically no immune system whatsoever. They're hibernating, and you'll probably notice, if you're koi keepers of a few years, once the temperature gets as low as 6, the koi will basically just line up on the bottom of the pond, and the reason why that is because that's where the warmest part of the pond is, and they're just hibernating. You don't have to worry about feeding them, because if you do feed them, you're going to cause more problems than you are good. But obviously, as you're coming down into those temperatures, you just start to feed a little bit less. So, you know, when you're down to sort of 12 degrees, you just feed once a day, maybe twice a day on a warm day. When you get down to 10 degrees, you'll just feed once a day in the the warmest part of the day. And when you get down to sort of 6 degrees, just stop feeding altogether, because the fish, the koi, will have stored enough fats in their body throughout the summer and the autumn. We are still in autumn, even though it's blooming freezing. You'll notice that the fish are still feeding heavily like in the summer, and the reason is they recognise seasons, not just by the temperature but also the amount of daylight hours. So they will naturally be feeding quite heavily now to try and produce those fats that they'll digest through the winter. So even though they'll lose some weight in the width, they'll actually put on length during the winter. So they'll digest the fats, which obviously makes them a little bit slimmer, but they'll be getting longer in length. So yeah, I recommend. I love Hikari food. Obviously it's a little bit more expensive. I'm not talking about sake Hikari, guys. Also, I think I've already said it, that there is Medikoi wheat germ with garlic. Medikoi do another one, which I think is probiotic, which has got spirulina and stuff like that in it, which is also easy for them to digest. And it says on the label that you can feed down to sort of 6 degrees. So yeah, just follow those labels, guys. They're there for helping assist you. So another thing, guys, while it's still sort of warm, is to give your fish, or get your fish, a really good health check. Try and do some scrapes, do some water tests, because the last thing you want is your koi to be going into winter with parasites, because like I say, it's not a very great time of year for the koi. So there's, if they're going into winter, even though parasites don't multiply as much as in warm water as in cold water, you really don't want your koi to be going into winter when you can't treat your pond. A lot of treatments you can't use in cold weather. So you've got, formalin and malachite green, you can't use that below 10 degrees, 12 degrees. There's quite a few, and not only that, they're just not as effective in colder water as well. So top tip for you legends, get your fish checked now in autumn. Get rid of those parasites so that they've got a fighting chance going through into winter. And if you have been having problems this year with bacteria or parasites that you just can't shift, that just keep coming back, I think the main thing everyone's suffered with this year is flukes and not being able to get rid of them. And I think that's a bit of over treating, guys. If you just keep constantly treating, it does affect the koi's own immune system. If you think in the wild, obviously the koi would get those parasites, but they combat it themselves. I think the paranoia of finding one fluke takes over, and people start over treating and then it ruins their immune system. So yeah, get back on track, Perky. What you want to do is make sure that your koi are healthy going into winter, and if your koi are covered in bruises and lesions and marks and missing scales and stuff like that, I think it's a good idea to, as you're coming into winter, when you can't treat your koi, is to get some salt in the water. So you can use 0.3%, 3 grams per litre, up to 0.6%, which is 6 grams per litre. So salt's a natural antibacterial agent. It helps with healing, and it's got loads of other benefits. I know a lot of people, there's a lot of misconception, a lot of argues and stuff online about using salt, but I think if you're coming into the winter, then it's a pretty good it's pretty damn good advice, because that will help stabilize the fish. You're right. That'll help stabilize the fish. It'll help with their immune system. It'll help with healing during those months when they can't take care of themselves. So another top tip for you, legends. So what have we been through so far? We've been through the weather and we've been through food. What's next on this agenda? We are here today in the forest of Worcestershire, and we're on the search for the very rare but very beautiful red-crested strawberry lube. Now, if we stay very silent, we might just get a glimpse. And there she is, in all of her glory, looking absolutely magnificent. Oh yeah! Bop bop! Sorry guys, I just can't flip it out myself, can I? I'm as mad as a box of frogs, but to be honest, I think that's why you legends like boxing. It's probably my most boring video ever, but as long as you guys enjoy it and you get the information across, you might think I'm completely bonkers, when you're probably half right, half of you are probably right. So, you legends, what's the next topic? So, what can you do to stabilise the heat in your pond? What can you do to maintain that heat? I'm flipping lost. I'm lost in the woods, guys. So yes, there's loads of ways that you can sort of, it's not about heating, guys. So covering your pond is a massive bonus. It's a bonus, you legends. And the reason for that is the wind, a cold wind blowing across your pond is going to reduce the temperature massively. So I do recommend covers. If you've got a pergola over it with some shading and stuff like that, that's going to help with the wind as well. But I still do recommend covering your pond. So there's loads of different ways you can do it. There's sort of sheets of polycarb. You could use a tarp. There's even like these balls, you know, the balls that you can, and you basically, you're buying and it covers the whole pond, and that sort of insulates it as well, because they're sealed. They're like sealed balls, and you can float them. I'll see if I can get a picture and I'll show you. But yeah, pond covers is a great way. It sort of keeps the temperature in that your pond is already. It stops the wind chill, and that'll help stabilize the temperature. So, but also you do need to let the gases out. You need a gap in that polycarb to let the gases evaporate from your pond, because if not, if it's completely sealed, they'll build up. So just a little area, maybe if you've got a window, just above your window, if you cover your pond and just leave that little gap between the window and the coping, then you've got somewhere to gas off. Another thing is, you could put like a feeding hatch in, so that you can still feed your koi, and leave it open to let it gas off as well, because at least it will stop that wind from blowing across, which is going to chill your pond. Another thing, if you're going to use polycarb, you legends, I'd recommend when you're actually building the cover for your pond to actually put a bow in it. Like, so you want that polycarb to be arched, and the reason for that is a very good reason for that is any rainwater is going to run off. If we have heavy snow, which I think we're going to have, guys, top tip for you, put a bet on that. A white Christmas and a white New Year. When it snows, it's very light, but as it starts to melt, it becomes very heavy. If you've got that bow, just a very slight bow, and you've sealed the edges, so you could use pipe insulation to seal the edges. If it's got that bow, as it starts to melt, it'll run off rather than weigh it down. Also, if you get heavy rain and you've used polycarb and you haven't got that slight bow to it, the rain will settle on it and eventually it'll bow the opposite way. When I had my car garage, going back, flipping hell, it's got to be 20 odd years now, I used to breed koi because my garage was on a koi farm. But it wasn't on a koi farm, it was on a fishery, and I used to breed koi and I used to grow them on in the pools. So they sold off the fishery and they let me use these pools to grow them on. So, but out the back, I'd bring them in for winter, and I did the whole. It was all made so it was all indoors to protect the fish. Try and keep the temperature stable. And we had some snow, and the roof was absolutely fine to start off with. But then when the weather started to pick up, guys, the whole roof collapsed. It's amazing how heavy snow is when it starts to melt. So yeah, there's a top tip for you. Put a bow and arrow, not a bow and arrow, just put a bow in your covers to make sure that water runs off, doesn't settle, and doesn't start weighing it down and breaking and going into your pond and stuff like that. Another top tip is to make it modular. So I went to see a guy called Keith. It's about an hour's drive, absolutely fabulous pond. I'm just putting a quote together to build him a cover. But he wants it modular, which I agree with. So as the colder winds come and the colder temperatures come, if it's in 4 pieces, you can put one piece on. As it gets cooler, put another piece on. Just leave the front one off, and so on and so forth. And then that way you can control it rather than be controlled. Digital ID. Sorry, guys. So yeah, that's another top tip for you. So you've got balls. You could put, like bubble wrap. They do big, massive sheets of bubble wrap that you can cover your pond. Same as a swimming pool, guys. And that will help keep the wind off. The actual bubble wrap itself is not going to heat it. But again, if you've got a warm day and you've got polycarb or you've got the covers on, that sun will radiate and it will basically help keep the pond warm through the day. You're going to be sort of helping that temperature go up. There's loads of people about. I'm going to have to spin round again. I'll bring you straight back. So yes, guys, just a quick recap. You've started feeding wheat germ, 50%, you'll be moving up to 75% wheat germ soon. You've got your covers ready, your pond are in good health. Your pond is at least 12 inches in the ground. The deeper it is, the deeper your pond is in the ground, the more stable the temperature is going to be. And that's the truth of it. So if your pond is completely above ground, and we have a very severe winter, which we have had in the past, where it goes down to -16, anything above ground has got a very, very good chance of freezing. Don't turn off your UVs, don't turn off your filtration, keep everything running, guys. Moving water doesn't freeze, so if you look at a river, you can't compare it to the ocean because the ocean's got salt in it, so that won't freeze. That's another top tip for you. So if you have got salt in your pond, it lowers the temperature that it will freeze at. But yeah, say if you've got 16 degrees, -16 degrees temperature, that pond is going to freeze and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. So you need that depth, guys. You need that depth just to keep that pond stable. So if you're building, if you've already got your pond and it's completely above ground, there's nothing you can do other than cover it maybe heat it. So let's get into heating. So again, there's plenty of ways to heat your pond, guys. I don't recommend going through winter heating your pond at 24 degrees, 22 degrees, 20 degrees, 18, whatever. And there's a very good reason for that as well. And that reason is, if you have a power cut and your pond's at 24 degrees and you're hammering in the growth food and you're not seasoning the koi, and you have a power cut, overnight that pond could go from 24 degrees to 10 degrees. So that's a 14 degree temperature change. I think I said before, because the fish are live in that body of water, their body is at that temperature. So that's 14 times 3. What's that? That'd be like a 42 degree temperature change that they've gone through overnight. They'd literally die. They'd absolutely 100% die, guys. So yeah, top tip for you. All you need to do is keep your pond at sort of 12 degrees. That way the koi have got an immune system. You're overwintering them. You can still give them a little bit of wheat germ every now and again, maybe once a day, a little bit, once every couple of days. And then that way the water temperature is going to be stable. You're not going to fail, especially if you think that there's a power cut, and there's a good chance of that when you've got lots of snow. That pond is going to drop rapidly, and all your koi are going to die. So let's talk about heating. You've got air source heat pumps. You've got electric heat pumps. Am I a massive fan of air source heat pumps? Not really. But they do the job, guys, if they're fitted and installed correctly. You need to make sure your flow rates are right. So if you've got one, get testing it. Make sure that it is kicking in and make sure that it is working. You need to make sure that the flow rates are there. So it's no good fitting an air source heat pump, waiting for it to be freezing cold and then turning it on, because some won't kick in below certain temperatures. Some won't work if the flow rate's too high. Some won't work if the flow rate's too low. An inline electric pump is a half decent idea. Just so you can keep it at 10 degrees or above. So you don't have to do this. You may think, Perky, you're talking an absolute load of crap. My koi pond's never been heated, and the pond's gone down to 4 degrees or whatever, and the fish will survive, guys. Like I say, it's just sudden changes, which is why I wouldn't be ramping your temperatures up and trying to get massive growth out of your koi throughout the winter. So yeah, little inline electric pump, and again, just set it at 11-12 degrees so that the koi have got an immune system that's active. And if there is a power cut, you imagine a really bad winter with loads of snow and stuff like that, how many times that there's been power cuts. I mean, we're having power cuts around the world, around the country now, and we're not even into winter. So if you imagine heavy snow and power lines coming down and stuff like that, you're in the house, you could get your fire on and all the rest of it, but the fish have got absolutely no chance of surviving. So another tip, guys, this isn't a tip, this is something that I have thought of that could help with your pond. So if you've got a filter room that contains your water pump, your UV, your air pump, all of those things are giving off a little bit of heat. So with your air pump in there going into your pond, that is going to give off a little bit of heat. The water pump's going to give off a little bit of heat. The UV is going to give off a little bit of heat. So make sure you keep all that running. Whatever you do, guys, do not turn off all your filtration. Because if you've got a UV, that's going to freeze solid and break. Your pipe work's going to freeze solid and break. Moving water doesn't freeze, guys, so absolute top tip for you legends. But yeah, I thought of a little way that you could try if you want to do a little experiment. If you've got your air pump, you could put sort of 6 air stones on it, scatter them around the pond, insulate the air line going up to the pond, so from your filter house going up to the pond. This is only an idea, guys. If you had a box in your filter room with small air holes in, with your air pumping, you can buy these mats which are like for reptiles. So they're only like 100 watts or something like that, 100 watt, 200 watt little heat mats. So if you put your air pump in a box with small air holes in, and had a heated mat in there, and that was evenly distributed around your pond, I think that might work. Obviously it's not going to heat your pond to silly temperatures, but it will help keep it stable, especially if you've got to listen to everything else I've said. So, you know, if you've got your covers on, you're feeding your wheat germ, and you think you've got a little box with your air pumping, with your insulated air line all the way up to the pond, it might just take that chill off. Thought it was a top tip for you legends, so yeah. What else have I got to ramble on about while we're walking through the epic forest? Well, yes, so it's not just the snow and stuff like that can cause blackouts, guys. Just even terrible winds, like heavily strong winds, can take down trees, can take down, you know, electricity pylons and all the rest of it. There's one right behind you, so I'll just flip you around. I mean, look at the size of that, and that's come down. Imagine if that come down on your electricity, you're up bloody Ship Creek without a paddle, guys. So, you legends, hope you liked the video. If you did, hit that thumbs up, guys. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Smash that notification bell so that you're kept up to date when I release more videos. I'm going to drop another video tonight, you legends, and it's about another, cold water collection in Coventry. He's going to have another open day, so I'll bring you black for that one, guys. It's on the 11th of October. I won't go into it. I'm going to do a whole video about it. So yes, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, all the new subscribers. Hopefully I'll be update the new members and stuff like that at the end of this video. Yeah, take care of yourselves, take care of your koi, take care of your loved ones. God bless each and every one of you. Trust me, we need him right now. And I'll see you in the next video. Nice. Guys, I've been walking around here for about an hour and I'm flipping lost. I'm actually lost. Flipping hell. Look at it. Absolutely spamtastic. And I'm lost. Don't you worry. I've got some. I thought I'd lost it then. I've got my lube with me, strawberry flavour. If I get lost and I get hungry, I can eat that. Nice. I'm deep in the Angolan forest, guys, and I can smell flipping weed. Oh yeah.